It's one of the most famous places on Earth, but did it ever exist? Atlantis, an entire continent submerged after a massive explosion.
Isn't it fascinating to think of this super civilization which was destroyed?
Rumors of Atlantis have intrigued explorers for centuries. Some still hope to find the remnants of an ancient civilization that was heaven on earth.
We are all interested in the perfect society, in a world where people live happily and in peace, and that's the image of Atlantis.
Legend has it that thousands of years ago, while humans were still living in caves, there existed a dazzling island. It had canals and bridges, roofs made of pure ivory, and a people overflowing with goodness. It's a myth so enchanting that experts continue their search for the earthly paradise at the bottom of the sea. Join us for The Lost City of Atlantis.
The fabled story of Atlantis, the island continent that disappeared beneath the sea, could not be more complex, its reputation more varied. Scholars pore over rocks and manuscripts. Explorers risk their lives searching for it. But for centuries, Atlantis has defied discovery. Yet the origins of the legend spring from a source that could not be more reputable: the ancient Greek philosopher Plato.
We have all sorts of Atlantis legends that surround us today, and of course we have people today who claim that they had nuclear submarines and crystal power and laser beams and airplanes and things of that sort, and this is all the modern folklore of Atlantis. But in order to go back to the story of Atlantis, we only have really one source, and that is what Plato was writing.
It was toward the end of his life in the 4th century BC that Plato set down in writing the story of Atlantis, the only written account of it in all antiquity. According to him, the account is fact, not fiction. If they did indeed exist, who were the Atlanteans? Where did they come from? What language did they speak? Today, the search is on to answer these age-old questions. On the Greek island of Santorini, also known as Thera, archaeologists have uncovered signs of an ancient city. It bears an uncanny resemblance to Plato's description of Atlantis. Even on the north coast of Turkey, old ruins have hinted at the existence of Atlantis. And halfway around the world, in the Caribbean, scientists try to coax secrets from massive, strange, underwater stones. But in order to find the lost continent, we must know what we are looking for. In elaborate detail, Plato describes an island continent blessed with natural beauty and abundant resources.
The seaway and the largest harbor were filled with ships and merchants coming from all quarters, which by reason of their multitude caused clamor and tumult of every description and an unceasing din night and day. Plato's Dialogues.
A great palace, clad in silver and gold, towers above the land. To the people of Atlantis, material riches are of minor importance compared to their most valued treasure, their virtue. But this prized asset is not to last. Generosity gives way to greed. Justice is replaced by violence.
Plato says the divine element in them disintegrated. They became more human. And as they became more human, they got greedy. They decided to conquer their neighbors in the ancient world. And that is the downside of Atlantis. they ended up being a rather nasty people.
In years of bitter battle, the mighty forces of Atlantis terrorized the entire Mediterranean. Finally, in a last offensive, the army of Athens halts the Atlantean onslaught. But this is a mere foreshadowing of their ultimate fate, for the people of Atlantis could not possibly have been prepared for what was to come.
There occurred portentous earthquakes and floods, and one grievous day and night befell them, when the whole body of warriors was swallowed up by the earth, and the island of Atlantis, in like manner, was swallowed up by the sea and vanished. Plato's Dialogues.
In a single day and night, an entire civilization vanishes into the sea, taking everything with it, forever depriving the world of its fabulous legacy.
There's this Greek tragedy element, something that was beautiful and full of life and potential that vanished in a single night. We will never really know what they had to say. We won't know what their versions of Shakespeare were. They'll always be mute to us.
Was Plato setting down history, or was he merely creating a morality play? Or perhaps a combination of the two?
The reason that Plato made this story was to make a moral lesson. What he wanted to tell his Athenian audience or his Greek audiences was that cultures that live beyond the measure of what is decent, cultures that indulge in excesses, especially in material excesses, are doomed.
How is Plato's vivid tale to be interpreted? While told in graphic detail, it is nevertheless difficult for many to believe. Plato himself was reporting the story secondhand, a story passed down from his much-respected ancestor, the Greek statesman Solon, who lived in the 6th century BC. In fact, the entire foundation of the Atlantis legend rests upon an official visit that Solon undertook to Egypt over 100 years before Plato's birth. The Egyptians were meticulous keepers of history, maintaining detailed records of the entire Mediterranean. But for the Greeks of Solon's time, all knowledge of their own previous history had been destroyed by earthquake, flood, and war. And so it was that the Egyptian leaders took it upon themselves to reveal the story of Atlantis to Solon. The Egyptians seemed to know every detail about Atlantis, where it was and when it existed. But they spoke one language and Solon another, creating confusion about key facts. Entire countries, even measures of distance, were referred to by different names. Could it be that errors of translation and interpretation obscured the true location of Atlantis? According to the Egyptians, the continent lay beyond the Pillars of Hercules, thought to be the Straits of Gibraltar. This was the gateway to the Atlantic Ocean, a place the Greeks had only heard about.
The Atlantic Ocean was a mysterious place where you could sail out. Many ships did sail out and never came back again. It was sort of, to the ancient Greeks, the infinite unknown, much as space is to us today.
Could translation errors also have obscured the time period when Atlantis existed? Solon claimed it was at its peak 9,000 years before his own time, but 900 years is more likely. It was at that time, 3,500 years ago, that cultures strikingly similar to that of Atlantis thrived throughout the eastern Mediterranean. Could the lost continent simply have been one of these civilizations?
Plato's student Aristotle doubted his mentor's tale of Atlantis. He believed Plato invented his island paradise to teach a lesson about greed. History's Mysteries will be right back here on the